I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Uh, I had a, I remembered that the class was before lunch, and I was like, lunch is at 1 o'clock, so class is from 12 to 1. I'm extremely sorry. I don't usually do this, but yeah. Okay. I
Good
really don't
morning,
know what
sir.
to say. I really don't know what to say. I'm so sorry. Okay, so let me quickly get started. I'll share the screen. Yeah. Okay, so are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
All right. So today we're going to talk about another process in the hydrologic cycle. So far we've been discussing about um, precipitation, evaporation, and evapotranspiration. So today we are going to start off by discussing about abstractions from precipitation. Okay, by the way, Nischal, if I'm not there at 11 o'clock, you have to call me immediately. Don't wait until 11:20. I mean, I'm never even 1 minute late. So if I'm not there at 11, that means that something has happened or I've forgotten or whatever it is. So just, I mean, of course it's not your fault, but I'm just saying that for future, you just call me immediately. Don't wait until 11:20. Now it's like, half the class is gone. I'm feeling terrible. So yeah, anyway. Oof. All right. So we're going to talk about abstractions from precipitation. Now, this word abstraction is not something that you might have encountered, in the past, but it is used with a very particular connotation in hydrology. Okay. So most of the time, what are we interested in as a civil engineer? Which process in the hydrologic cycle are we most interested in? Anybody has an idea?
Precipitation.
What is it?
Precipitation.
Precipitation. Okay. Then what is the next process that we are
Runoff.
most interested in, which has
Runoff,
implications
sir. Runoff.
which has implications for us as a civil engineer is runoff. Okay, runoff is the probably even more important than precipitation, but runoff depends on precipitation. So indirectly speaking, we are also interested in precipitation. So once you know precipitation, the next thing you want to know is how much runoff is generated by this kind of a precipitation event, a storm. Okay, so runoff is often the major subject of study whenever you are interested in looking at a catchment or a watershed or so on. You are most interested in finding out what the runoff is. Okay, because that is the one that has direct implication for us. Because as civil engineers, most of the things that you're doing is on the land surface, right? You're always constructing on the land surface, whether it is buildings or whatever it is that you're making, bridges and so on. So in most of these cases, runoff is the one that you are interested in, right? But before this runoff is generated, right, several losses can happen. The precipitation comes down, and before it becomes runoff, something can happen that can reduce the amount of runoff. Okay, so now these losses that happen before the precipitation that falls on the land surface gets converted to runoff, that those losses, those are called abstractions. Okay, so that is what we mean by this terminology, abstractions. Okay, so we are going to try to understand what these different abstractions are, and how to understand them in a more from a more scientific perspective. Okay, so I'll quickly list the different abstractions that can take place in a watershed. The most important one, or the first one that happens, is interception. Right, as the rainfall comes down from the atmosphere and is about to hit the land surface, the first loss that happens, the very first thing that happens is interception. You may have a tree, or you may have some vegetation that is preventing all the rain from hitting the surface of the earth. Okay, it gets captured by the different parts of the vegetation. It could be the leaves or the branches or so on. It gets captured by the different parts of the vegetation, and that that loss, that initial loss is called interception. Okay. And this interception, of course, can vary depending on the kind of plant, depending on the density of plants, and so on, right? Then the next thing that happens, which prevents runoff from getting generated, is some kind of a local depression on the land surface, right? So although the land surface in general may have a slope in one particular direction, it may not be a a smooth slope or a slope that goes in one direction all the time. At different places you may have, right? So suppose, let us say this is the land surface. If the land surface does something like this, although for the majority of the portion you can say that the land slope is in this direction, right? But these little depressions, some water can get stored here, which will not become part of runoff, right? In every one of these little depressions, some water can get accumulated, which will never become part of runoff, right? So this again is an abstraction or a loss. From the perspective of runoff, this is a loss. When the rainfall comes down, that portion of the water that can never become runoff is what we call our abstraction. Okay. So now we've accounted for interception, which is what is prevented from hitting the land surface by the vegetation, by the different parts of the vegetation. It could be the trees and the branches and so the leaves and the branches and so on. And then once it hits the land surface, it may occupy some local depression, right? Some small ups and downs that are there on the land surface, which get filled with water. This water will never become a part of the runoff, right? So therefore, this is also a loss from the perspective of runoff. The water that cannot become runoff is an abstraction. Okay, so that is depression storage. All right. Then the next one that never becomes a part of runoff is infiltration, right? Water that comes and hits the land surface, even if it doesn't become part of depression storage, okay, it may be on a piece of land that is sloping in one direction, but if the land surface is or the soil that is at the land surface is dry, or if it doesn't have any vegetation or whatever it may be, there are different possibilities, different kinds of soils, different kinds of soil slopes, different kinds of vegetation, and so on. All of this will allow some infiltration of water into the ground to happen. Now, whatever water goes into the ground as infiltration, again, it cannot become a part of runoff, right? So this is again a part of the abstraction processes, that is removing water which is coming in the form of precipitation from becoming runoff. Those processes that prevent precipitation from becoming runoff are abstractions. That is how you can understand it. Okay. All right. Is there any other abstraction that you can think of? Anything else?
Pumping out.
Pumping out. But you mean groundwater?
No, not only there is water flowing, we can pump out from we can pump out to store it. No, sir.
Okay, so let me ask it in a different way. Is there any other natural process that can take away water from runoff?
Sir, if there is a natural barrier, I mean, then it would not allow water to run off.
It will not allow water to run off. So, for example, you're saying, what if I have a wall or something like that over there? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
If I have a wall here and it's preventing water from flowing. Okay, so now, can I call this?
Depression storage only, sir.
What is that?
That comes under depression storage only, sir.
That's what I was going to say. That it is a glorified depression storage, right? It's a big depression.
Buildings buildings and all, like it won't get into soil, like for the runoff, and it will be stored on the houses and all.
Where will it be stored on the houses?
Like on the terrace. If we like any storage system is there, we can stop it from being part of runoff.
One second. Let us think of your roof. Let us think of the roof. Unless if it's a sloping roof, then it will just flow down the roof and get into, it'll fall on the ground. And then once it falls on the ground, then it can either become depression storage, or it can infiltrate, or it'll run off.
Like
Okay, one
rainwater
second.
harvesting system.
One second. Let me complete. Okay, so for a sloping roof, what you're saying doesn't apply. Suppose I have a rainwater harvesting system, okay, that takes the water. What does a rainwater harvesting system do? It takes the water from the terrace, takes it through a pipe, and what does it do?
So like it won't be part of the runoff.
No, wait, what does it do?
Like we'll just store the water and use it for the different purposes.
You will just store the, okay, so there are two types of rainwater harvesting. One is just building an underground tank and diverting all that water that fell on your roof towards that tank, and then just pumping water out from that tank and using it.
Yes.
Right? That I agree with you. That is that would be water. That is one kind of rainwater harvesting. The other kind of rainwater harvesting is taking all the water from your roof and then building some kind of a recharge pit, okay, or an infiltration well, okay, and diverting the water into that such that it goes in and recharges the groundwater table. That is another kind of rainwater harvesting scheme that is used. But in either case, in both of these cases, I will say that the roof is preventing the water from hitting the land surface. So I will say that the roof is acting like the leaves of a plant. It is intercepting the water before it hits the land surface. Okay. So let us assume, so for the sake of simplicity, let us assume that we will ignore human intervention in this. I'm only looking at a natural watershed and the natural processes that may prevent the water from becoming a part of runoff. Okay.
Sir,
All right.
evaporation, all those process will come under evaporation or?
Evaporation. Now see, let us, okay, I'll talk about evaporation a little bit. Just wait for a bit. Okay. So this interception, okay, any other process, okay, evaporation I'll talk about a little bit later. Anything else? Any other process that you can think of?
Converting
One by one.
Converting into ice, sir.
Converting into ice.
Yeah.
No. What is converting it into ice and who is converting it into ice?
Sir, if we are moving from higher temperature to lesser temperatures than melting point, then the runoff will stop because of it will convert into solid.
Okay, so you're talking about a watershed in which when the rain happens, the temperature is above freezing, and then after the rain ends, then suddenly it becomes cold and the water just freezes. Okay. Or it could just be snowfall that fell in the beginning. It will not become runoff. But once the temperature goes back up, then again all of these processes will come into play. All of these processes will again come back into play once the temperature goes up and that snow starts to melt. So if you go to, for instance, the US or Europe or all these places where they do experience snowfall, from November.
I'm not talking about snowfall.
Where else
I said
will
it was raining.
No, are you talking about some realistic scenario, or you're just thinking of different ways in which it can be stopped? And again, remember, I spoke about natural processes.
It can be natural, sir. It depends. Somewhere.
Yeah, so that's why I spoke about snowfall, because I wanted to still make it a natural process where the temperature itself. Yeah, okay. So let us not focus so much about snowfall, because we are in India. If you guys go for your further studies to some other part of the world where you have to encounter snow, you can talk about that. But by and large, if you are not in an area where you experience freezing temperatures and so on, these three processes will come back into the picture as the processes that prevent runoff from being generated. Okay. So out of these three, these are the three main processes. Out of these three, the first two, interception and depression storage, are also called initial losses or initial abstractions, right? Because this is the initial thing that happens. even before the rainfall can start infiltrating, these two processes will happen. And so therefore these two processes are typically called initial loss or initial abstraction. And then infiltration is what is called the major abstraction, right? Because it is the most of the time it is the major component of precipitation that doesn't become runoff, comes from infiltration and not from interception or depression storage. Of course, depends on the kind of rainfall that you're receiving and so on. Okay, so this is some kind of an introduction to abstractions. All right. Okay, so now let's quickly talk about interception. Interception is whatever water is retained on the vegetation, and it can be evaporated back from the leaves back into the atmosphere. You agree? It is, let us say the water is retained on the leaves. Okay, from the leaves it can again evaporate and go back into the atmosphere, and that would be what is called interception loss. Okay, what else can happen to this water? It gets intercepted by the leaves. One portion of it can get evaporated back directly from the leaves back into the atmosphere. Is that the only thing that can happen, or something else can happen?
Absorption of what?
Absorption.
Transpiration.
One second. What do you mean by absorption?
Leaves take water.
Leaves will absorb the water. Seems very unlikely to me. Okay, but I'm sure some of you have tried this. When you go and stand under a tree which has experienced a rainfall event, and then you shake the tree, what happens? All those water droplets that were on the leaf, right? You all experienced this, right? Or at least rather, I hope you have all experienced this, because I have experienced this. If you stand under a tree after a rainfall event, whatever droplets were sitting on that leaves, if you shake the tree, all that water just falls on you, right? But if you don't go and shake the tree, what happens to those droplets? Some of it will get evaporated back into the atmosphere. Is there anything else that can happen? If you observe carefully, that water can just drip off the leaves, and then it may fall on the ground, and it can join the runoff, right? It can fall on the ground, and if runoff has been generated, then it will just join the runoff. Otherwise, it will just fall on the ground, and then infiltration can happen. Okay, so this process by which, so there's a terminology for this. This process by which it just drips from the leaf onto the ground, it's called through fall. Right? It just falls directly from the leaves onto the ground. It's called through fall. Okay. One more thing can happen. It can just run along the leaves and the branches, and then down the stem or the branch or the main stem of the tree, and then come back and join the ground surface. And this is called stem flow. Okay. This is just some minor terminology. Don't worry about this. You'll never again see this for the rest of the semester. Okay. So this is just to understand that whatever rainfall that gets intercepted is not necessarily permanently lost. One, it may evaporate back into the atmosphere, in which case it is permanently lost to runoff. Or it may drip off the leaves and then join the runoff or fall on the ground. So there may be a time delay between when the rainfall event happened and when this becomes a part of runoff or becomes a part of infiltration. That process is called through fall. Or it may, these small drops that are on the leaves may all collect together and then run down and then come down the stem or the main branch of the tree, and that's called stem flow. Okay, so this is a brief understanding of interception. The challenge is that none of these processes can be estimated very accurately or with a great degree of certainty. Right? Nobody knows exactly what the interception losses will be. Okay, very, very difficult to estimate. You can imagine that, right? It's naturally this kind of a process which is so complex, right? It's very, very difficult to estimate. But what are the factors on which interception will depend? Can anybody state any couple of factors on which interception will depend?
Amount of rainfall.
Amount of rainfall, okay. Then?
Type of plant.
Type of plant, okay.
Amount of vegetation.
Amount of vegetation, yeah. So if I have a forest in which there's thick density, lots of trees all next to each other, sometimes in the forest the trees cover the thing so well that if you're walking inside a forest, you may never know that there was a rainfall event happening, because the rain will never come and fall on the ground. I'm sorry. Okay. So what was I saying? Yeah. So sometimes in a forest, the leaves can so fully cover the entire thing that the water, even sunlight sometimes doesn't come and hit the bottom of the ground in the forest. Okay. Similarly, sometimes even rainfall doesn't come into the fall on the forest land surface. Okay. So these are all the different things that on which this interception depends, right? You have vegetation type, the density, and the storm characteristics. If I have a very light storm with a little bit of rainfall, all the water may get captured by the leaves, right? If I have a very light storm event happening for a very small duration, right? Only for 2 minutes, I get a little bit of rainfall. None of the water will hit the land surface. Everything gets captured by the trees. On the other hand, if I have a very high intensity rainfall event, which lasts for 1 hour, okay, within the first few minutes, the leaves will all get completely filled with water, and whatever rainfall that happens after that will flow off from the leaves and directly fall on the ground, right? So obviously this process is very, very complicated. Depends on the kinds of plant, depends on the density of those plants, depends on the characteristics of the storm, how long it lasts, what the intensity is, and so on, right? So many different complications. Then we come to depression storage. Now, all the depressions that are there on the land surface, all of them have to be filled before runoff can happen, right? If all of them are not filled, then whatever rainfall is falling can never start to run off, right? Wherever there's a small depression, the water will first collect there, and if the rainfall continues after filling all these small depressions, then it will start to flow. Correct? You can imagine this. Just imagine any rainfall event. As long as the small depressions are not filled, you will not see water flowing on the land surface. Once all of them get filled, then you will start to see any kind of rainfall happening. Now, whatever water gets filled into these depressions, whatever is depression storage, there are only two processes that can happen. One, it can infiltrate and go into the ground, or it can evaporate and go back into the atmosphere, right? These are the only two things that can happen to depression storage. It can never become part of runoff, right? So that storage is always lost, right? Everybody agrees? Okay. So what are the factors that affect depression storage? Any ideas? Nobody? Okay. The type of soil, right? So depending on the type of soil, you may have, different kinds of depressions, and the whatever comes and falls even with a depression, for it to fill that depression depends on the type of soil, right? If I have sandy soil, even though I may have a depression, the sand will just keep sucking up the water. It will never fill the depression storage. Everything will become infiltration. But if I have a depression that is in clayey soil, whatever water falls, it is not able to go in because the clay is so impervious, right? It doesn't allow the water to go in so easily. So instantaneously it becomes depression storage, right? So just imagine this. I have two identical land surfaces. One is made of sand, the other is made of clay, and the rainfall starts to happen, right? In the case of clay, runoff will happen very quickly. Whereas in the case of sand, it will take a long time for the runoff to happen. First, all that sand will get filled with water, then the depression storage will happen, and then runoff will start. Correct? Right? Okay. Yeah, and the condition of the surface, of course, right? So depending on whether you have these kinds of undulations or this up and down surface, that's what they mean by the condition of the surface. If it's all flat in one direction, there's no depression storage. If it's up and down, then you have a little bit of storage here and there. Okay, in addition to, of course, the type of soil, and then the slope. If you have a very, very steep slope, okay, in spite of there being a small depression, if the slope is much, much steeper, then that small depression it's very small, right? It doesn't take up a lot of the depression storage, right? So the same depression on this kind of a slope versus a flatter slope, right? If I just imagine this, if I have a depression like this, it will fill up a certain amount of, but if I have the same depression like this, okay, just imagine that this is the same depression. Just because of the slope of the land surface, this depression storage will never get filled, right? This cannot get filled because the slope is so steep, whereas this one, it will get filled. All right. Okay. What else? Yeah. And then the antecedent precipitation. Antecedent means whatever happened before. So if already some rainfall has happened 1 hour back and this depression storage has been already filled. Okay. If this depression has been already filled, then if I have one more rainfall event after that happens, then there's no depression storage. Then immediately it becomes a runoff. Right? So for the depression storage to get filled, it should not already be filled, which means there should not have been some rainfall event in the past. So a rainfall event that is happening right now, whatever component becomes depression storage depends on what happened in the past. If I've had a rainfall event in the past, then already the depression storage is filled. So therefore there is no more scope for depression storage for this storm, right? So for a given storm, the runoff that will be generated depends on what has happened previously, right? If the depression is already filled, there is no scope for more depression storage, although the depression exists, right? Because it's already full, already filled. Therefore, whatever rainfall happens after, in the second rainfall event, for example, then that will not contribute to depression storage. All right. Is that okay? Are we out of time? We are almost out of time. Do you guys mind if I go for just a couple more minutes?
Continuous.
Yeah, because yeah, I mean, okay. So then we'll talk about the final abstraction or the major abstraction, which is called infiltration. Okay, so we'll just talk about this for a couple of minutes and then we'll stop. Okay, this is basically flow of water into the soil, which converts surface water, which means water that was above the surface, into subsurface water. Subsurface means water that exists below the land surface, right? So I have surface water, which could either be depression storage, or it could be rainfall that's happening, right? Or even water ponding on a land surface and so on. All of that gets converted into subsurface water through this process of infiltration, right? So now, once this water becomes subsurface water, there are two major characteristics of subsurface water. It can either exist in the unsaturated zone, right? When the water enters into the soil can either be unsaturated, which means some of the voids are filled with water, or it can be a completely saturated zone where all the voids are filled with water. That can you understand what I mean by this? So if I imagine I have a land surface like this, okay, and then some rainfall happens, and then some water infiltrates into the ground. Okay, so now this just imagine that this land surface was perfectly dry before the rainfall event happened. Okay, so here I have rainfall or precipitation, and this is my infiltration. Okay, so this infiltration is happening. If the soil was perfectly dry before the rainfall event happened, then when the water enters into this soil sample, right, initially it will completely saturate this entire the top portion of the soil, right? But if I go a certain depth below the land surface, the water there, will it occupy the entire void inside the soil sample, or will it only occupy a portion of the voids?
That depends.
Depends on what? Now, okay, so we've already, yeah.
The rate of infiltration. I mean, if the rainfall is very low, then not all voids.
No, that's let's not talk about that. I'm talking about, let's assume for a moment that some infiltration is happening. We'll talk about infiltration, rate of infiltration and rainfall and all that. Just hang on for a minute. Now, when the water enters the soil sample, will it completely occupy all the voids in the soil or not, is the question. Now, what parameter of the soil does this depend on? We spoke about this property maybe last class, or last class, I think. Can it hold infinite amount of water? Can a soil sample hold an infinite amount of water?
No.
Yeah, so how much can it hold?
If the voids are free, then it will fill. If
Correct.
they are already filled, then
No, so the voids are initially not filled. Initially, let us assume all the voids are completely empty, zero water. The rainfall hits the surface and it starts to go in, but there is an inherent capacity for the soil to hold the water, which is
field capacity.
field capacity, right? So if as soon as the moisture content exceeds the field capacity, what happens to that moisture? The soil is able to hold a certain amount of water against gravity. Okay, so let us say this particular soil sample has 30% porosity, right? Right now 10% of the voids have been filled, and let us say 10%, 15% is the field capacity. Okay, right now 10% of the voids have been filled and 15% is the field capacity. I'm just giving a random number. Okay, and the porosity is 30%. Okay, so once 15% of the voids have been filled, now this water is being held up against gravity. If I add more water to it, that 15% may become 20%. Then what happens? That extra 5% that the soil cannot hold against gravity will be pulled down by gravity, right? So that moisture will go down. Moisture will go into the soil, further into the soil. Then further into the soil, again, if that soil was at, let us say it was at 12%, it was at 12%, the moisture content was 12%, for instance. I add 5% to that, it becomes 17%. Now 17% is greater than field capacity, so the 2% of the water will again further go down. Assuming that rainfall is continuing to happen all the time, then this water is slowly, as it keeps going down, because once it crosses field capacity, the soil is no longer able to hold it. It keeps going down. So the soil never gets fully saturated. It can only take up as much as field capacity can hold. Rest of it, it'll allow it to go further down, and then it'll keep going down. But can it keep going down infinitely? No. At some point, it will stop flowing down. That point at which it stops flowing down further is what is called the water table. You've heard this table. You've heard this word, right? Water table.
Yes, sir.
Right? You will hear that, oh, the water table has dropped by 10 feet. The water table has dropped by 100 feet. People will say this. There's going to be a water scarcity in the next summer because the water table has already dropped 10 feet. Something like that you will hear in the okay, please read the news. Please read the news. Okay, this I'll keep insisting, because you have to connect all this to your life. Otherwise, it's just something that's happening in the classroom. Okay, so this water table is the point at which all the voids get completely filled. Okay, that is the saturated zone. So below the water table is what is called the saturated zone, where all the voids have been completely filled up. Above the water table is what is called the unsaturated zone. Okay, so this region is called the unsat. We typically call it unsat zone and the saturated zone. Okay, so this water table is the point, is the line or the surface below which the saturated zone exists. Okay, and this water table happens to be at atmospheric pressure. Okay, if you go below the water table, it'll be greater than atmospheric pressure. If you, okay, I don't want to introduce this concept now. We'll just stop with the point that this water table is at atmospheric pressure. Okay. Oh, I've gone 8 minutes over. I'm sorry, but I came 20 minutes late. I'm so sorry. We'll make up for it. And those who missed today's class or who left because I didn't come until 20 minutes, maybe I'll quickly go over this in the next lecture also for the benefit of those who missed it. But I'll try to keep it short. Okay. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. Okay. I mean, I don't usually do this. I mean, I don't usually come late. Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. Apologies again. Okay. Yeah. See you guys on Thursday.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, actually, I'm not able to load the shape file in QGIS.
Okay. Did you download all the files .shp, .shx, .prj, .dbf? There's a bunch of 5 or 6 files. Okay. Those who
Yes,
want to leave
sir.
can leave. Okay. Those who want to leave can leave. Okay.
Sir,
Yeah.
even
Only those who have questions can stay
not
back.
able to view that.
You're not able to view what?
Sir,
Those SHP files and all.
No. Did you download the zip file?
I downloaded all the files and put them in a folder. I created a new layer and opened the shape file, but
What did you mean?
it's
You
not
created a new layer. 1 second. What do you mean by you created a new layer?
I loaded it into QGIS,
You loaded what into QGIS?
the shape file. I mean,
Yeah.
opened it up.
Yeah. So did you bring in the .shp file?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, the only way to check what's going on is for you to okay. I'll stop sharing and I'll allow you to share screen. Can you just quickly show me what's going on? Okay, I'll stop sharing here. Maybe even for the benefit of everybody else, let this keep recording, so those who are facing similar issues can, yeah. So I've given you permission to share, Aditya. Can you share? Aditya, you've got to unmute yourself so that we can keep hearing you.
Sir, I'm opening QGIS. Just a second.
Okay. All right. No issues. So you downloaded apdistricts.zip and unzipped it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And then, okay, can you just show me the folder where those files are, and let's make sure everything is as it should be. Okay. Okay. Looks like you're missing some files. I can't see all the files here. Is it all that was there?
Downloaded.
There are 5 files, sir.
There.
There should be 5 here. 1 second. Just go back and download it again. Let me check my file. Okay, so you should have .dbf, .prj, .qpj, .shp, .shx.
Sir, actually, when I downloaded it, there were 5 files, but when I loaded it into QGIS, it showed only 4 files.
Okay, why don't you try downloading it again and making sure that all the files are there? Okay,
Yeah.
because if I remember correctly, the one that I download, the one that I put up, let me try looking at it again. Yeah, it should have 5 files. Does the zip file have all 5? Just quickly.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, why don't you just download it again? Nah? We can instead of Aditya,
Yes, sir.
what are you trying to do now?
So downloading all the files again.
Oh, you're downloading it again. Okay, I'm not able to see anything,
Yeah.
so I was confused. Okay.
Sir, I have downloaded all the files.
Didn't I upload? Okay, yeah. Okay, copy this and paste it in there. Yeah, and rename this .qpj. Remove that one. Okay. All right. So now try uploading it into QGIS. I can't see QGIS, by the way. You will have to share screen and select QGIS.
Sir,
Okay,
is it
now I can
visible
see.
now?
Yeah, now I can see it. Yeah. Import your vector layer. Okay. Browse.
Only this file is visible, sir.
Yeah, that's fine. .shp. That's all you need. Okay. The layer already exists.
Sir, now nothing is visible.
What is that?
Sir, I overwrited the original layer. Now it's not showing anything.
Okay, I don't understand what's going on. Because is anybody else having the same issue? Okay, 1 second. Let me try to see. Okay. Okay, so why don't you download it into a fresh folder, create a new folder, and download all those files that are there in the zip file into that one, so that you know there's no confusion. Okay, let me look at what did I upload. Yeah, I uploaded apdistricts.zip. Yeah, so if you download that, it should clearly give you. Yeah. Anyway, so make a new folder, Aditya, and download the files to a new folder. Okay. Sometimes you know this can go crazy with these kinds of things.
Yes, sir. Sir, actually, look now when like I put up in this folder all the 5 files, but now only 4 are there. One of them just went away.
Okay, then okay, try bringing it in now. I don't understand what's going on. It's very bizarre.
Sir, it's showing the same.
But I think you're bringing it into this. Is it a new folder that you created?
No.
I told you to create a new folder. Na? Create a new folder and bring that zip file into the new folder. Something might be wrong with that location. Okay, what is the error message? What is that? What does it say? Upper layer creation failed. Creating. Okay, we are not trying to create a data file. Are we just bringing in? Is not a directory. Okay. Okay, so which button are you clicking?
This one.
Not
Oh,
that
sorry,
one.
this one. New
New
shape
shapefile layer. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm also a little bit puzzled by this, because this is usually the simplest step. I was expecting that you would have trouble with other steps, but not this one. But looks like other people have been able to bring in the shapefile. Okay, why don't you? You've got create a new project. Click on that blank white thing. New. It will say, do you want to save or discard? You can just say discard. And then now try create a new folder, paste that file in, and try this again. Okay, I think you're clicking on the wrong icon, Aditya. You need to click on the icon that says add vector layer. That's not the right layer. Okay, go to vector. Maybe it has that option. No, it doesn't. Okay, go to add layer, add vector layer. Now try it. .shp. Click OK. Add. No. Click add now.
Sir, it's not going. Sir, I'll try it again.
No.
Download all the files.
Why is it not working?
Sir, I don't know.
No. Click on add na.
Sir, it's not working. It's showing this error, invalid data source.
So you have to download that file again. Let's do it right now. I want to see this work. Okay, just aram se just download the file to a new folder and come to this add vector layer and then bring in that apdistricts.shp. Just do it calmly, no hurry. Oh, you have a class now?
No, I don't have a class.
You don't have, it's a lunchtime, na? Sorry. You have a class at 1 o'clock, right, though?
2 o'clock. Yeah, sir, now it came.
Your problem is solved? All right. Oof. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Bye. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
We'll meet on Thursday.